Okay, welcome, ladies and gents. Sorry, I was a little bit late streaming today. Technical issues. I'm testing some new things with the audio. But one thing we got to get into right away today is a pretty worrying dystopian thing, as if it can't get any worse. Every day, Britain seems to fall more dystopian. And the announcement is just, well, it isn't actually an announcement. It's an announcement by the Metropolitan Police, which somebody sent to me and I've looked into. So this isn't actually a sort of public announcement. This is something that's been announced, a tender, which is pretty worrying, I would say. You notice how no one says Great Britain anymore? I've started to notice that everyone refers to it as the UK, or they say Britain. It's no longer Great Britain, unfortunately. Maybe one day in the future we can bring it back and it can be great again. But no, everyone just calls it Britain these days. Also, got to get into this article in a second. Fair warning, Cyber Monday today. All the deals will end in 24 hours, in the next 24 hours. So all the course deals will end, and that's these that have been running for the last week. Then these will end 90% off all the courses. One other thing before we get into this dystopian stuff is 9 days ago here, 22nd of November, I talked about XRP. And what was it trading at then? It was low anyway. It was very low. 22nd, something like 135, 140. And occasionally I'll jump in and give you a tip on something that has now doubled in price from when I gave you that tip about 10 days ago now. So if you don't know anything about crypto and you jumped in on that tip and you bought some and you don't know anything, you're not a trader, you don't, here's my tip to you now. You can sell and get 100% return on that XRP. Okay, I'm giving everyone a fair warning now, because otherwise it's going to keep going parabolic. Things are going to happen. You're going to see a consolidation phase, and then it will probably drop a little bit, and then people will say, oh Neil, you told me to buy this, or you said this is a tip, and now it's gone down or something. So I'm saying it now so everyone can see it's gone up almost 100%. You can now exit, okay, if you want to exit. All right, got to make these disclaimers these days if ever I give a tip, otherwise people go crazy. Let's get into the big story of the day then. UK government announces tender for live facial recognition technology. This is huge. This is going to cover the entire UK. It's a £20 million contract, a tender, phase one, and it's going to cover the whole of the UK. Now, I was looking into the technology a bit and speaking to a couple of my clients who I mentor, mainly in SaaS and other products like that. But one of them does facial recognition. And I said, but here's what I don't get. Don't you need, like crazy amounts of data for facial recognition? He says, oh yeah, you need 5G towers all over the place for some of the stuff that they want to develop and put in place. And I said, isn't that interesting that we've got all these 5G towers going up everywhere now, everywhere around the world actually, but in fact not all around the world. Let me correct that. Someone's going to say, in Africa, this little country in Africa or Southeast Asia, or someone's going to throw one of these out there. But in a lot of developed countries, we're seeing this now, this facial recognition, and we're seeing these 5G towers. So it was obviously part of the plan in the first place that this would enhance and enable these facial recognition. So again, the UK just seems to be the canary in the coal mine all the time with these things. So what have they announced then? They actually published a procurement for live facial recognition technology to be used by police forces across the UK. So they want people to be tracked just like they have with CCTV wherever they are in most major cities and certain towns. This is a 20 million procurement for tech companies to provide live facial recognition technology, FRT, to police forces across the UK. This is through Blue Light Commercial, a non-profit commercial consortium representing police and other emergency services. The government has issued a tender notice to establish a national multi-supplier framework for the provision of live FRT. So what's the scope of it then? Real-time deployment of facial recognition technology, which compares a live camera feed or multiple feeds of faces against predetermined watch lists to locate persons of interest by generating an alert when a possible match is found. Now, let me just address the elephant in the room here, because some people are going to say what they always say. Well, Neil, if you're not a criminal, then why should you care? And it's a really valid and good point, and I hear it all the time. And I would say, yeah, right now, if you're not a criminal, then it doesn't seem like a big deal. But if we look at history, and you know I'm a scholar of history, I love my history, we always have these new technologies or these new things that come about. And at first they're wonderful and they get used and they enhance society, and it's just a wonderful thing. But then the control aspect tends to form over the top of it. Or just look at governments at the moment. Look at the US, it's had a very liberal left-wing government for the last 4 years. You've seen some really crazy things take place, this acceleration of woke culture, as it were. You've been seeing this over the last 4 years. And now what's happened? The people have voted, they have voted, and in is coming Donald Trump again, which I had forecast for a number of years, but I think, you know, the media lied and said they had no chance, 20% chance, and, you know, Harris was ahead by 60, 70%, you know, all this sort of stuff. So what have we seen? We're about to see this massive polar flip, massive, from a Biden admin to a Trump admin, and it's already sending shockwaves around the world. We've got a couple of articles to look at on that today. But here's the point. You could see in the UK, well, we're already seeing what Labour are doing with, you saw the protests and slash riots. I always say protests slash riots in July, because most of it was protest, peaceful. And then you had the rioters and the criminals that the media focused on and called everyone criminals, right? You know, that's how they did it. So you've got this already happening. People do a mean tweet or a social media post, and they're thrown in jail, stuff like that. Now, what if we had something that went even more dystopian than what we've already got? What if in the future you get a government that is, let's say it was a heavily socialist slash communist government that comes in, and all this technology's been developed. Maybe it was in, you know, with a good intention. Let's just, I don't think it is, but let's just pretend for those people who doubt it. So let's just say it was a good intention. And then you have this crazy government that comes in. They now take control of this. And by the way, I'm not saying Donald Trump and the Republicans are a crazy government. I actually prefer them to the Democrats, actually. Let me just throw that out there. I'm not giving that comparison. I'm giving an example of the UK. What if that happens and they've got all this control over these cameras and facial recognition? You're not going to be able to do anything. And if all the measures pass, which they are talking about with the transportation, kill switches in EVs, electric vehicles, social credit scores, which they seem to have dampened the rhetoric down on that a lot, which I'm very happy to see. But I thought this was going to be a big one by now, the social credit scores. But it seems like China is the main test case at the moment. But this is what they've announced then. This is, where is it? Yeah, okay. Yet they continue to do so while there's no legal framework in place pertaining to the use of FRT. It's also against your human rights. A number of people are saying you have the right to protest and be free from discrimination. And we're actually seeing some major UK cases at the moment. A couple of YouTubers, a couple of big figures that are either under investigation or have been arrested, one in prison at the moment, for very similar things. The announcement follows developments this past year by both current and the previous government to fund and enable this technology. But who's it going to be policed by? The police and private companies. Why would private companies be allowed to have access to this data? This is a travesty. Furthermore, this tender has been published just a week after significant concerns were raised about the use of FRT by police. This was a debate in Parliament, so they've now rushed this through quickly because they know that there might be a debate over all of this. I saw this as well today. All of these news channels are jumping from X. They're leaving X saying because of the high level of disinformation. Well, actually, the irony is since a lot of these news outlets have left X, the disinformation has dropped dramatically. And it's funny how they used to have these departments of disinformation and all these people that would fact check stuff. Obviously, they were doing the opposite. They were giving the wrong facts to an accurate fact. But now they're all jumping ship. They're going to this new platform, Blue Sky, which you look into this Blue Sky. I mean, I'm not going to be on that platform. Let me just say that. I'll be on X still. That is the platform that I will be using. But I just find it amazing how everyone's jumping ship, all of these media companies, saying that they're suspending their activity on X because they keep getting fact checked and it's spreading conspiracy theories. Well, didn't we say a long time ago, yesterday's conspiracy theorist is tomorrow's, what do we call it, is accurate basically the next day. So this is what we're seeing. All these, they're all jumping ship. They're all blaming Elon Musk for his fact checking. But actually, I would say all the fact checking now on X is very good. I haven't looked at it anymore and said, oh, who fact checked this type thing. I'm looking at it now and saying they're doing a good job. They are actually fact checking things properly. Some, however, feel betrayed that all of these media outlets are actually leaving. Oh gosh, so funny. This was the Trump announcement that came out a couple of days ago. Then I'm not sure if you saw this out of Reuters, but Trump has actually warned BRICS nations against replacing the US dollar. So what he actually said was, he said that these member countries should not commit to creating a new currency or support another currency that would replace the US dollar, or they will face 100% tariffs if they are selling into the US. He said, we require a commitment from these countries that they will neither create a new BRICS currency nor back any other currency to replace the mighty US dollar, or they'll face 100% tariffs and should expect to say goodbye to selling into the wonderful US economy, he wrote on his Truth Social. They can go find another sucker. There's no chance that BRICS will replace the US dollar in international trade, and any country that tries should wave goodbye to America. So very strong start with the Trump admin already. Out of The Guardian, this was, it's still, even though I expected it, it's still shocked and disappointed me. Joe Biden has issued a full and unconditional pardon to his son. We knew it was going to happen. It was pretty obvious. But all of the charges were meant to begin the sentencing in 10 days' time. So he has pardoned Hunter, even though he was found guilty on 3 felony counts related to the purchase of this, and also these as well. There was a lot more. There was actually tax fraud and all sorts of things. He pleaded guilty to 9 federal charges. He could have got 17 years behind bars for the gun charges and 25 years for the other, 17 years for the tax charges, and he could have got 25 years for the, but he's been let off. Yeah, he was given a pardon, so that's it. It's I mean, it's unbelievable. It's sad that that can actually happen, that he could do that and protect his own son from the law. It's outrageous, actually, when you think of the people who are currently in prison for very, very minor things, and yet it's very sad. Another one out The Guardian. Trudeau promises Trump that Canada will increase border surveillance. Isn't that funny? Trudeau was talking all big about Trump just last week, calling him every name under the sun. Oh, look how powerful I am. Trump can't, do anything against me. And now what did he do? He went for this meeting with Trump. Oh, called it, apparently it's quite funny. You should listen to Trump talk about it. He kissed my ass. That's what Trump said. He came suckering up and all this. Mr. President, I thought he was going to kiss my hands. So this is what's been happening there. Trudeau has now promised Trump that he will increase surveillance over the long, undefended joint border. He said he's going to do it. He flew all the way to Florida on Friday just to have dinner with Trump. And why? Because of these tariffs. You look, and also the drugs that were crossing the border. You look, it is, here it is. Canada sends 75% of all of its goods and services, the exports, to the United States. Can you imagine if he had hit them with this tariff, which he might still do, but can you imagine if he hits them with that tariff? Canada would be in even bigger economical trouble than they are right now. Public Safety Minister, who sat at the table with Trudeau and Trump, said the two men discussed additional security measures Canada would be introducing. Canada's going to be paying for all of this as well. We're going to look to procure, for example, additional drones, helicopters, deploy personnel as much as a reassurance exercise. We believe that the border is secure. Yeah, he's backtracking a little bit there. But they said it's important to show Canadians and Americans that we're stepping up in a visible and muscular way, and that's what we're going to do. So that's that. It looks like that's that part taken care of, which, no surprise, I thought that would happen. Kash Patel for FBI director. Now, this is a big one that Trump has announced this. This is a really, really big one, because I don't know if you saw the interview. Gosh, what was the show? I think it was the Sean Ryan show, but I watched it anyway. And Kash Patel was asked about, what he would do on day one. And he said that he would turn the whole, I can't remember which building it was, but, it was, for the FBI. He said he'd turn it into a museum for the deep state on day one. And 7,500 agents, he would they've got a choice. They either get fired or they go out and they get their boots on the ground and start doing police work throughout the US. So this is what I mean. There's this massive shakeup going on now, right across the US. We've had this massive pivot. I think it's going to be explosive. I just did an hour-long video on this in the private community. If you've joined the academy, by the way, the membership academy that I mentioned at the start, you also get access to these videos. So they're every month. They're about an hour long. Sometimes I might rattle on for an hour and a half. I mean, if I'm flying through, it'll be 45 minutes, but it's usually an hour long. And I talk about investment stuff and how different decisions are going to affect things. So, I talked about the stock market, where the stock market's going, crypto, and, all these other things. Just if any of you are interested or you're not aware that you've actually got access to that in the academy, you do have access. Just scroll down and you'll find that video and my investment spreadsheet as well, which I saw the comments on the XRP video. People were like, why would you tell people, what you've got? Because it's transparency. That's why. How can I teach about investing and everything else and just not show any transparency with what I do and what I invest in real time? That's just, I think it's the best way, because I remember when I was trying to learn about investing, these people would teach all this stuff, but how do you know they're actually doing it? You've got no idea if people are actually doing these things. That's why I actually show everyone. Okay, there's all the questions answered. There's XRP covered. There's the surveillance stuff. You're up to date over the weekend. Thanks so much. I'm going to drop the streams down a little bit now as we're into December and Jan. You'll see why as of next week. All right. Thanks so much. Take care. God bless you and your families. I will see you on the next video.